Today is December 5th, 2016, close to the end of the year, and I've been out here all day with my friend Chris Harper, and we have been uncovering the old El Paso and Southwestern Railroad here in Tucson. This was an old main line laid down in 1912 and first started service in 1913. It was used by the Union Pacific as a freight line. Okay, correction, it was used by the Southern Pacific as a freight line for many years before they abandoned it. And it's been sitting under layers of dirt for about 50-60 years. Today we were able to uncover it and come up with a little bit of the tie. My friend Chris was able to pry that spike out just for a little second, and we got to see what it looked like. We put it back in because we want other people to enjoy this as much as we did. And this is a piece of the tie, I believe. I found it in the dirt when I was digging through this part of rail. I believe that the piece worked itself loose over the course of many years underground, and shifting ground levels, probably rain. I'm amazed that the tie seems to be mostly intact. And that's solid wood right there. Well, I would call it less than solid, but the iron and steel, or whatever material is that makes up these rails, seems to have held up pretty well over all this time. And if you look closely, the date on the rails is 1912. And for those who aren't familiar with history, this is the same year the Titanic sank. This is also the same year that Arizona became a state. So this rail is as old as the state, and it's as old as the Titanic. And this was right before World War I. So this is from a real different time era. My guess is that this rail was put in by hand. No machines. It was all done by people swinging their arms with those big old hammers and smacking this thing into the ground. It's also possible that this tie came from either Washington or Oregon, where a lot of timber came from back then. A lot of western timber came from the west coast. And this rail was originally part of the Phelps Dodge Corporation empire, where they used this railroad to transport valuable copper ore from Bisbee and other towns such as it in southeastern Arizona to the smelters here in Tucson, where they had melted down into pure copper, a lot of which is probably still being used today. And during World War I, these rails would have probably been very busy. This line was abandoned about 1950 or so. Sometime between 1940 and 1950. I don't know the exact date.